Hello and welcome to the final video in my How to Get Into EHL series. Before we get started, I just want to include a little disclaimer because I don't want to get in trouble with EHL. So I just need to say that this video is being made completely of my own accord. It's not made in association with or with the approval of EHL in any way whatsoever. This is all just from my personal opinions and research and experiences, and I wanted to use that to help future applicants feel more prepared and less nervous during their whole application process. And with all that being said, let's get right into this video. Right into talking about the final step in the EHL application process, which is selection day. If you do well in your virtual interview, you'll be sent an invitation to attend a selection day. You can either go to one on the Lausanne campus, or if you're unable to travel to Switzerland, they also host several abroad. Because I went through this whole application process in the middle of a global pandemic, I was not able to do one on campus and had to do one in a modified online format. So I can't really tell you about what a normal in-person selection day is like, but I'll still do my best to describe the process I went through, and hopefully that'll still be helpful. According to the EHL website, during a normal non-COVID selection day, you would participate in an interview with an admissions officer and an upper-level bachelor's or master's student. You would do a series of analytical and quantitative reasoning tests, and you would do a team building exercise. And you would, of course, also get to do a campus tour and all of that fun stuff too. For my virtual version of the selection day, I did a Zoom interview and also took the aptitude tests online. And if you're interested, you can do a virtual tour of the dorms and the campus, and I will leave those in the description box if you want to check those out, because they're just kind of fun. 4 days after my online interview, I was sent an invitation by email to do a Zoom interview a week from then at 8 a.m. my local time, which was 5 o'clock in Switzerland. My Zoom interviewers were an admissions staff member and a current master's student whose name was also Alex, so that was a bit fun and confusing. I think the whole interview took about 45 minutes and they just took turns asking me questions. As for the analytical and quantitative reasoning tests, I was sent a link to complete those in the same email scheduling my Zoom interview. They're comprised of 3 different exams and you have to take it within 45 minutes, and I had a week to do so from receiving the email. I don't want to go too into detail on what types of questions are on there because I'm worried that might get me in trouble with EHL. But if you don't want to go in completely blindly and you want to get sort of a feel for what the questions will be like, I highly recommend that you look up things like logical reasoning tests because they're very similar to those sort of questions in my opinion. I'll leave a link in the description box below to an example of the sort of tests that I'm talking about. I think these are really fun to do in your free time, but in terms of how well you do on this test could determine your future, they're kind of terrifying. So it's nice to at least know what you're getting yourself into. All that aside though, all you can really do is to stay calm and try not to worry about it too much. It's sort of pointless to try and study for these tests because they're meant to judge how you think. So over preparing isn't going to change the outcome. So all you can really do is just sort of get a feel for what to expect and then stop stressing. Now let's get into some tips on how to succeed in your in-person interview. Obviously, it's really important to be thoroughly prepared for every step of the application process, but in my opinion, I think this one is the most important and you really need to study the most for this one. Firstly, it's a good idea to review your CV or resume, your transcripts, your letters of recommendation, your essay, etc. All that stuff that you sent in with your initial application, because those are all things that you're really likely to be asked questions about. I would also recommend doing the same thing I mentioned in my video on how to prepare for the virtual interview, which is to look up commonly asked and important questions for university or job applications and then practice answering them out loud. A good habit to get into when preparing for this sort of thing is to have someone else practice with you if possible. I think this is super helpful because it gets you more prepared for the sort of environment that the actual interview will be in. And the more prepared you are, the less stressed you'll be about that particular part, because there's plenty of other stuff to be stressed on. And the less stress you have, the more likely you are to succeed. This also ties in with my next few pieces of advice, which is to be professional and articulate, answer your questions very clearly and succinctly, and make sure you dress in EHL dress code appropriate clothing. Also, in addition to your typical interview questions, I think it would also be wise to have an answer prepared to questions like why EHL, why hospitality, hospitality in COVID, or new innovations in the hospitality industry. And you should be prepared for at least one situational question. Some other good things to do in preparation for your interview are to thoroughly read through the entire EHL website, maybe read some blog posts, I know there are some good ones out there, and to chat with current students if you have any more questions. There's a page on the school website where you can chat with current bachelor students, and I found it super helpful, so I'll leave that in the description box below. It's also really nice because each student has a little bio that says like where they're from and all that. So if you have a specific question in regards to your school system or anything, they've probably been through the same thing and can hopefully help you out. And that's all I can think to tell you about selection day. I really hope I didn't leave anything out, but if I did, I'm sorry, and I will have the EHL application requirements website linked in the description box, just in case, so feel free to check that out if you want. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that it was helpful and informative, and if you're interested in learning about the initial application or the virtual interview, I will have those two videos linked in the description box if you want to check them out as well. I wish you the best of luck with your whole EHL application process, and hopefully I'll see you in future videos and maybe on campus. Bye. Mwah.